Greetings, mortals. I am Loki of Asgard, god of mischief, master of magic. But wait, let me guess. The moment you heard Loki, your mind conjured an image of my beloved brother, did it not? Yes, the mighty Thor, the thunder god, the golden boy of Asgard, admired by all. But do you even know how he got that hammer he's so proud of? My tricks got it for him, though you won't hear him admit it. I won't deny my brother's power, of course. When Thor strikes, entire realms tremble. I can't help but admire his larger-than-life presence and noble qualities myself. But I've always felt crushed under the weight of Asgard's adoration for their favorite son. I am reminded time and again that we are not related by blood, that I was taken in by Odin after a war with the Frost Giants, and that even though I've been raised as Thor's equal, he has everything our father could ever wish for in a son, and I do not. Because around here, sharp wit and cunning aren't admired as much as brute force.
At last, brother! A real hunt! Just the two of us! We shall return with a prize worthy of Odin's Hall!
Let's not get ahead of ourselves, Thor. The beasts of this forest are not to be underestimated.
With my strength and your cleverness, what could possibly stand in our way?
Your stomping is going to scare away anything we might hope to capture.
Nonsense! The beast will hear us approach and meet us in glorious combat!
Suddenly, a massive wild boar burst through the trees, charging straight at us.
See, brother? Now I shall have my way with this beast!
Thor, wait! Its hide, it's too thick for your club!
But he paid no heed to my warning, and his mighty blow just bounced off the boar's hide. The boar caught him up in his tusks and tossed him into the air, sending him sprawling to the ground.
Impossible! No beast can withstand the might of Thor!
Clearly, this one can. Now let me show you how it's done. As the boar circled us for another charge, I started weaving a spell of illusion and made multiple copies of Thor and I appear around the clearing to confuse the beast.
Thor, when I give the signal, strike at its left flank. That's where its hide is thinnest.
The boar, bewildered by the illusions, charged at a false Thor.
Now!
But later, during a grand feast at Asgard to celebrate our victory, all the gods and warriors seemed to be focused on Thor alone. They raised their glasses to praise his strength and courage, while my strategy that made the victory possible just faded into the background. I tried to calm myself down in the cool night air, but there was a storm in my heart. Always Thor stealing all the limelight. Were my accomplishments and skills worth nothing because I wasn't one of their own kind?
Loki, there you are! Why did you leave the feast?
I'm surprised you even noticed, brother, given how caught up you were in your own glory. One would think you achieved this feat all by yourself.
Don't be ridiculous. No one thinks that. We're a team, you and I. The mighty Thor and the clever Loki. Now come, let's rejoin the celebration.
As he practically dragged me back, I felt myself struggling, as I often did, with the affection I had for my brother and the resentment that simmered in my heart.
Yes, brother. The mighty Thor and the clever Loki. Always in that order. Always in your shadow.
And that never changed. So I adapted. If they wouldn't notice my contributions, I'd make sure they couldn't ignore me. My tricks became bolder, my schemes more elaborate. Each act of mischief was a cry, "Look at me! See what I can do!" And they did look, with shock, with outrage, even with reluctant admiration. It wasn't the love they showered on Thor, but it was attention. And so, I became the god of mischief, thriving on creating trouble and chaos. But I admit, sometimes I went too far. Like the time I decided to play a trick on Thor's beloved wife, Sif. You see, Sif was renowned for her beautiful, long, golden hair. Of all her traits, it was her radiant locks that had first caught my brother's eye. And, well, I simply couldn't resist giving her a new look.
My dear Sif, you've had the same hairstyle for centuries. It's time for a change, don't you think?
And with that, I started to snip away at Sif's golden locks, then stood back to admire my handiwork.
There, a real trendsetter you'll be. The mortals will be dying to copy this look, I'm sure.
Get up, you witch! Who are you? Where is my beloved Sif?
My love, it is I. What's the matter? Oh, my God! My hair! My beautiful hair! Oh, Thor, what has happened to me?
Loki!
The thunderous cry echoed through the halls of Asgard, shaking its very foundations. I knew I was done for.
Brother, you called me? You really don't need to roar so loudly. We do have servants.
Thor grabbed me by the throat, lifting me off the ground.
How dare you cut my Sif's hair? What madness possessed you? I'll break every bone in your body for this.
Now, Thor, surely we can discuss this like civilized gods? Wait, I can fix this, I swear, on my life!
Fix it? How?
Realizing the gravity of my situation, my brain went full throttle into scheming mode, and then it latched onto a magnificent idea.
I'll commission the dwarves. Yes, the master craftsmen of Svartalfheim. Their skills are legendary. Surely they can create hair for Sif even more beautiful than before. And gifts. Gifts for the gods to make amends.
And if you fail?
Then you can do whatever you wish with me. You have my word.
Very well. But know this, brother. If you don't succeed, there will be nowhere in the 9 realms you can hide from my wrath.
Understood. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some dwarves to visit.
And so, I immediately set off for Svartalfheim, the realm of the dwarves. I knew they could craft anything, but I had to convince them to do it for me. And then, a brilliant idea struck me. I need to appeal to their competitive nature and pit 2 families of dwarves against each other. So first, I approached the Sons of Ivaldi, known to be master craftsmen.
Have you heard the latest news? The gods are holding a contest to determine the greatest craftsman in all the realms. But I hear the brothers Broker and Eitri claim you don't stand a chance.
What? That's outrageous. Our skills are unmatched. What must we craft to prove our superiority?
3 gifts for the gods. 1 must be long, golden hair that never stops growing.
With the Sons of Ivaldi set to their task, I went to Broker and Eitri.
Did you know the Sons of Ivaldi are participating in a divine contest? They seem quite confident of victory. They definitely don't see you as worthy competitors.
Those amateurs said so, eh? They couldn't craft a decent horseshoe, let alone anything worthy of the gods.
Care to wager on that? I'd bet my head you can't outdo them.
The head of a god. Now that's a bet I can't turn down. Give us your word. If we win the contest, your head is ours.
After the deal was made and the dwarfs set to work, I realized I may have overplayed my hand. As both sets of brothers crafted wonders beyond imagining, I knew I had to make sure Broker and Eitri lost, or I would lose my head. So of course, I decided to sabotage their work. I bit Broker again and again, but he persevered and didn't even flinch as he worked the bellows. But then I landed on his eyelid and bit him hard. The dwarf yelled in pain and released the ropes of the bellows for just a few seconds, but it was too late.
Brother, the hammer didn't stay in the fire at the required temperature long enough. The handle, it's too short.
Luckily for me, they had no time to remake it, and I was certain they'd lose, and my head would stay on my shoulders. The day of judgment had arrived, and the gods gathered to examine their gifts. The sons of Ivaldi presented their creations first. Everyone was stunned to see the hair of gold they had woven for Sif. It immediately attached itself to Sif's scalp and started growing immediately, more beautiful and lustrous than ever before. To Odin, they presented a magnificent spear that could pierce through anything. And to another god, Freya, they gifted a remarkable ship that was large enough to carry an army, but could collapse to the size of a napkin that fit in his pocket. I breathed a sigh of relief. There was no way Broker and Eitri could beat the Ivaldi brothers. Or so I thought. To Odin, they presented a golden arm ring that would keep creating more rings just like it every 9th night.
Magnificent. A never-ending source of wealth.
Freya received a golden boar that could draw his chariot faster than any other ride across land, sea, and sky. But Thor looked puzzled as he received his hammer with the defective handle, while I secretly rejoiced.
A hammer? But the handle...
Its name is Mjolnir, and its handle may be short, but it's truly a weapon like no other. It will never shatter, it will never miss its mark, and it will always return to your hand, mighty Thor. This hammer will make you invincible.
Is that so? Then let's put it to the test. Ha! Now this is a weapon worthy of a god.
To my horror, the gods declared Broker and Eitri the winners.
Time to pay up, trickster. Your head is mine. You gave us your word as a god.
Did you really place a bet on your head? You grow more foolish by the day.
But I'd just had one of my lightning bulb moments, so I smiled. Ah, you may have my head, but only as long as you don't harm my neck. That wasn't part of the deal.
How can I have your head without your neck? You silver-tongued cheat!
Let this be a lesson in the importance of precise words when dealing with Loki.
Ah, fine. But I'll prevent you from causing more mischief for some time.
And before I could react, Broker had grabbed me and sewed my lips shut.
There.
As the others laughed, the irony of it all wasn't lost on me. What had begun as a seemingly harmless prank to mess with Thor had elevated him to legendary status instead. My brother, now wielding Mjolnir, would go on to become an even greater hero, while I stood here, silenced and shamed. And one of the first things Thor wanted to do after receiving Mjolnir was to venture into the land of giants, with me and our servant Thialfi accompanying him. Remind me again why we are going to the land of our mortal enemies?
The giants have always been the biggest threat to Asgard, and we must assert our power as its protectors. When we confront them and show them what the Mjolnir can do, they will not dare to ever rise against us.
As we continued our journey, we met a friendly giant who said he was headed in the same direction as we were. He even offered to carry our food in his bag, and we walked together the whole day. Later that night, when we stopped to rest, the giant fell asleep almost immediately, while the rest of us settled down to have some food. But try as we may, we could not open the giant's bag. I mean, I wasn't even trying much. I was just watching in silent amusement as the mighty Thor struggled with the sack, his face turning redder with each attempt.
Wake up, you overgrown ape!
His voice fell on deaf ears. So then he decided the best course of action was to hit the sleeping giant in the head with Mjolnir. But the giant barely even stirred.
Did a leaf fall on my head?
Thor continued hitting him, his legendary strength about as effective as a gentle breeze. And then he finally gave up. I really didn't mind watching my brother being taken down a peg or two. The next morning, the giant pointed the way to the fortress of Utgard Loki, the king of this realm, and parted ways with us. The massive citadel of ice and stone would make even the bravest think twice before entering. But of course, Thor strode forward as if he owned the place.
Ho there! Open these gates! Thor, son of Odin, demands entry.
Well, well, what have we here? The mighty Thor and his entourage. What brings you to our humble abode?
We have come to prove the might of Asgard, to show that we are superior to any giant.
Oh, for the love of Thor, can you ever be more diplomatic?
As Utgard Loki looked at us, a sly grin spread across his face.
Is that so? Perhaps you'd care to prove your worth through a series of contests.
Name your challenges, giant. We shall best them all.
Very well. Let the games begin! Who among you will go first?
I was very hungry by this point, so I decided to kill one bird with 2 stones.
I shall. You want to see something exceptional? There is no one here that can eat faster than me.
Very well, little god.
A lean, hungry-looking giant stepped forward, and a long trough with meat was brought out. We took our places at opposite ends of it, and at Utgard Loki's signal, we began. I ate with all the speed I could muster, stripping meat from the bones more efficiently than a pack of wolves. But when we met in the middle, I realized to my horror that the giant had not only eaten the meat and bones, but the wooden trough itself.
We have a clear winner. Next.
Thialfi stepped forward, challenging anyone to race against him. We all went out to a vast flat plain of ice, and a small giant took his place beside Thialfi.
To the edge of the horizon and back. Ready, set, go!
Thialfi ran faster than we'd ever seen him, but his opponent had beaten him to the finish line before he had even made it halfway.
Oh, bad luck. Perhaps the Thunderer will have better fortune. What say you, Thor? Care to show us your legendary strength?
Gladly. Bring me your strongest giant to wrestle.
Oh no, that would be completely unfair to you. But perhaps, yes, perhaps you could try to lift my cat.
Just then, a massive grey cat walked into the hall, and Thor looked furious.
Lift a cat? You mock me, giant?
Not at all. If you're as strong as they say, surely this should be no challenge.
Thor approached the cat, wrapped his arms around it, and heaved it with all his might, but he barely got it to lift one paw off the ground.
What sorcery is this?
It's just a simple house cat. Perhaps you'd like to try your hand at my drinking horn instead?
A giant brought forth an intricately carved horn, filled to the brim with mead.
A true warrior should be able to drain this in one go.
Haha! Watch and learn, giants.
Thor tilted the horn back and drank deeply, and then more, and some more. But when he finally lowered it, he gasped. The level of liquid had barely changed.
This horn. It must be bottomless.
Or maybe it was just too much for you. One last challenge to redeem yourself, then. We have an old woman here, Ellie. Surely the mighty Thor can defeat her in a wrestling match.
I almost burst out laughing as an ancient old woman hobbled into the hall and challenged Thor to an arm wrestling match. Thor, by now furious and frustrated, went at it with all his might. He almost beat her once, but she recovered quickly and defeated him. There stood Thor, the golden son of Odin, his pride utterly wounded after being beaten at every turn. It was a sight rarely seen. But just as we prepared to leave, Utgard Loki approached us.
Before you leave, mighty Thor, perhaps you'd like to know the truth of the challenges you faced.
What do you mean, giant?
You see, I am a master illusionist, and nothing in my realm is as it seems. Loki competed against wildfire itself, which consumes all in its path at great speed. Thialfi raced against thought, which is swifter than any action. The cat you tried to lift, none other than the Midgard serpent, which encircles the entire world. The drinking horn, it was connected to the ocean itself.
And the old woman?
Old age, Thor. The one enemy that defeats us all in the end.
You deceived us!
Yes, but with good reason. You see, Thor, what you managed to accomplish, it completely terrifies us.
What do you mean?
When you drank from the horn, you lowered the level of the world's oceans. Your lifting of the cat, the Midgard serpent, raised it so high that it shifted the earth. And earlier, when you hit the friendly giant repeatedly on the head with Mjolnir, well, it was I who was disguised as that giant. And your blows carved out valleys in the mountains. And in your wrestling match with Old Age, you almost defeated her. Something no one, god or giant, has ever done before. If this is what you can do in a few friendly challenges, what might you do if you came at us in all seriousness? I hope we never cross paths again.
And suddenly, the Giant King clapped his hands together with a thunderous boom. The castle and all the giants began to shimmer and fade like a mirage.
Remember this day, Thor Odinson, and know that we will not soon forget it either.
Within moments, we found ourselves standing on an empty plain, with no sign of Utgard Loki, his fellow giants, or his great fortress. As we started walking away quietly, Thor suddenly placed his hand on my shoulder to stop me.
You had something to do with me being able to achieve all that, didn't you? I know I felt something besides my own power at play.
I was taken aback that Thor had actually realized it. You see, after my own eating challenge, it dawned upon me that I was competing with no giant, and that nothing in that fortress was as it seemed. I knew then that we were being tricked with all sorts of illusions, so I decided to use some of my own magic to help Thor with his tasks.
Why did you do it? I would have thought you'd really enjoy seeing me being messed around with.
True, but it's only really fun when I mess with you. I wasn't going to let those giants think they can get the better of us. We came here to assert our dominance over them, did we not?
Indeed we did. And I am grateful to you, my brother. Always a team, you and I. The mighty Thor and the clever Loki.
Let's say the clever Loki and the mighty Thor today. Shall we? Hmm?